guys, I'm Eliza Wood, this is my channel, and let's talk about resolutions. Specifically, New Year's resolutions. This year, my New Year's resolution is to try to make at least one project per month. I had been doing a whole bunch of really complicated cosplays that were taking me years, months, all that stuff, and I wasn't actually getting a lot of use out of them because all I can do is wear them to cons. And I love wearing them to cons, but I go to 2 or 3 cons a year and I'm getting bored of wearing the same costume over and over again. So I think this year I want to focus on making everyday clothes, and I'll get more in depth into the everyday clothes in a minute. That will be twofold. They'll be threefold really. They'll be quicker, they'll be easier, and they'll give me practice for future projects. Because honestly, I was an amateur starting out cosplay with these complicated dresses and just kind of threw myself into it, which is fine, but I forgot where I was going with that. So easier and practice is actually the same thing. The third fold, I can actually wear them on the day-to-day. Now, my day-to-day is very different from most people's day-to-day. Like, this is a day-to-day outfit for me. I can get away with this kind of dressing at work. Not everybody can get away with this kind of dressing at work. So when I say everyday outfit, this is what I mean, kind of thing. But anyway, that's kind of the background of what I'm hoping this year will be like. So let's get into the actual project that I am planning on making for January of 2024. I do have to say, it is January 2nd right now. I filmed the intro for this yesterday, but then I looked back at it and the lighting was so bad that my face was like 2 times its size. It looked so swollen and I was like, I can't post that. So I had to film it again. So my plan for January of 2024, I am going to MegaCon in February. I believe it starts February 1st and goes to the 4th. So in January, I know I just said I wasn't going to make cosplays, but I'm going to make a cosplay. But not my normal cosplays. I'm going to make something that I can still wear day to day, but also could be seen as a cosplay. My plan is to make Eevee as a human. Eventually, I want to do the common evolutions. I want to do each and every one of them, but I thought I'd start with Eevee because I actually found the perfect dress that I wanted to make for myself that would also work for Eevee. And the dress that I found is actually from another comic, so technically I could be considered cosplay just for making this dress. I've been really enjoying reading villainous webtoons or comics or whatever they're considered. I believe they're considered webtoons. Which those are the ones where someone gets reincarnated into the body of a villainess and either they choose to try to be the villainess and utterly fail, so everybody loves them, or they try to change everyone's opinion of them and they try to be the good guy, and eventually, even though everybody hates them in the beginning, they finally love them. One of the villainous webtoons that I read, which I do like the actual webtoon, so if you're interested, I would recommend the webtoon, but that's not what I'm talking about right now. One of them is I Became the Ugly Lady. I believe that's the name of it. I will totally put the title and author down in the comments below because I don't remember who the author is, and I believe I got the name right, but if I didn't, I will correct that in the info below. I absolutely adore the outfits that the author makes for the different characters of this particular comic. The main character gets these stunning dresses and outfits and all that stuff, and I want them all eventually for everyday wear, but I'm gonna start out with actually the maid's dress. I was looking at it and I could just piece that one a little bit easier than I could the main character, because she had much more luxurious dresses than just the maid. But I still really like the maid. I feel like my phone is like slowly dripping down. Hold on, give me a second, I will fix it. Maybe that helped? I don't know. I don't know why I was doing that. So now you're just a little higher. So I really liked the maid dress for an everyday dress. And then also I thought it would look really cute for an Eevee. So that's my plan. Now, it is my New Year's resolution to make a whole project every month. And in January, I am already cheating, because if you can't tell, this is actually the brown dress that the maid is wearing. And I did not film the making of this. I made it in November. But this is just the base of it. Let me see if I can't, I'm sitting down, so let me see if I can't get up a little bit and show you. Okay, so here is the brown dress that I have already made. I love the sleeves. They're my favorite part. They are a little tight. I didn't give enough ease to them. But this is the starting place that we have. So I am actually cheating on this one because I already have the base dress. But I still have plenty to do. I have to make the kind of apron type thing that she wears. It doesn't have any straps on it, so I think the plan that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a corset skirt thing that is an underbust corset that has a skirt attached to it, obviously. And then I also need the bib piece. It probably would have been better to make it part of the brown dress, but I wanted to make the brown dress more versatile so that I could wear it with other things as well as the maid dress. I have to make a tail for Eevee, as well as some ears for Eevee, which I will probably attach to the maid headband. Just noticed this is crooked, but there's nothing I can do to fix it. Anyway, so let's go back to yesterday where I actually start working on it, because I did start on January 1st, even though I'm not filming this until January 2nd. So I'll try to keep you updated on the days that I actually work on it, because I won't be able to work on it every day, but it is my hope to work on it most days. Oh, she doesn't want to say hi. Here starts my New Year's resolutions. It's the 1st of January. Yes, I am wearing a different outfit than I was wearing in the intro, but that was my evening garb, so we're doing things a little out of order, but only today. So first step is to make a plan of what all I need. The first thing that needs to get done, probably the most important, is the corset piece. Oh, please don't knock over my drink. Which is going to be probably mostly underbust, might stick a little higher than just underbust because it looked like it did in the picture. I haven't quite decided about that. It's gonna be based on the drafting, because I don't know if that's gonna make the corset or my bust sit weird. So I'm gonna make a mock-up, see how that looks, and decide then if I'm going to add or not the higher end, or if I'm just gonna keep it below the waist or below the bust. Then I need to do the bib piece, which is really important because unfortunately when I made the brown dress, I wanted it to be pretty low cut because I'm not a super fond of high cut garments. But I made it a little too low cut. So if I wear a corset with it, it actually tends to, I almost fall out of the dress. If I'm not wearing a corset, it's fine. But since the overdress is a corset, I need to make the bib so that I can cover this. Then probably what I'll do next, there is the tail and the ears so that I can make it Eevee. I think for the tail, I'll probably just have it tuck into the lacing of the dress, because I'd like to be able to wear this dress outside of being Eevee. So My plan is probably just attach it to a belt that'll go into the corset. It'll be interesting trying to figure out how to put it on, but we'll see how that goes. And then the ears, I think I will attach them to the maid headband, because I don't really actually intend on wearing the maid headband with this dress all that often, except for this actual project. So I'll add it to the maid headband. So I've actually already gotten the materials for the corset dress and the bib, because, hey, leave my drink alone. All my cats want to be in the video today. Because I had planned on making this dress a couple months ago, and I wasn't planning on putting it on video, but now it's on video. So, this is my fabric that I'm going to use. This is actually the wrong side of the fabric, but I actually prefer the wrong side of the fabric over the right side of the fabric. A lot of times when I see this kind of shiny material, I think it looks costumey, especially when I make something and it looks kind of costumey. So I decided to use the crepe side for the material, and I have a whole lot of this, so I hope I have enough because I don't actually remember what it is. I believe it's crepe back satin from Joann's, but I don't remember, so that's a thing. And then I also have these flower buttons. Let's see if I can't show you one of them. I was originally planning on putting them on the brown dress. Leave my drink alone! On the brown dress, but they were a lot bigger than I thought they were. So the only place that the brown dress needs buttons is on the sleeves, and these were much too big to be sleeve buttons. Would you guys stop messing with my drink? So I've got thread somewhere, I'm sure. I'd have to find it. But I got my thread, I got my fabric, and I got my buttons. So now, first things first, I gotta start a mock-up, which means I need to research how to make a corset. First things first, we need a plan. I'm going to take my measurements, and since this is a corset, I'm going to take my true bust, my underbust, my waist, my hip, my front bust, which is from, if you're wearing a t-shirt, the side seam to the side seam, my back waist, again, side seam to side seam, my front hip, my lap, which is from your waist down to where your legs would be if you were sitting, so your corset doesn't go into your legs. And then my nipple to nipple width, and my waist to bust, and my waist to hip length. Now in the top right hand corner, I actually have my computer, which has a tutorial that I found on how to make a Victorian corset. It's using a previously made Victorian corset, pattern pieces, and kind of explaining how you can use your own measurements and put them into the corset. I am just drawing out the pattern pieces on my book. They are no way to scale. They're just kind of copying what the pattern pieces should look like, which is also why I am currently doing an overbust in this drawing, because I'm just copying the pattern, and the pattern is actually of an overbust. I don't actually think that they did underbust corsets in the Victorian era. Well, I mean, technically they didn't ever do corsets. I believe they were still called stays at the time, but that's kind of otherwise information that we don't really need right now. Anyway, so now that I have the whole pattern drawn out, I am going to go in and redraw my pattern with this red pen just so we can see something different. I am doing what it should look like as an underbust. I hope. Again, this is kind of just, I think it'll look good like this. And then I'm going to use my measurements, which apparently I've decided that I didn't take correctly, so I needed to change slightly. And using the tutorial, I'm going to take the percentages that was used on the original corset when you split out the waist measurement into percentages, and I'm going to do the same with my waist measurement, the front waist measurement, and so on, so forth, until I have the entirety of all of the corset split into its different measurements. The executive producer demands that we have a short cat break. Isn't she cute? Okay, so I just finished filming the intro and I was just about to go get changed into something a little bit easier to work in, and I realized I kind of need to give you an update on what's happening today for the work. So yesterday I was able to finish a drawing in my little build book for what I plan on making my pattern. I did all the measurements and the math and all that stuff on that piece of paper. Now I just have to transfer it onto a drafting paper. So that's my plan for today. I want to draft out my pattern and hopefully also cut out some mock-up material. I believe I still have some mock-up material in my craft room. We can only hope, so that I can try to start working on my mock-up. I don't know if I'll be able to get to the mock-up, but if I can at least cut out the pieces, that would make me happy. And now it's time for the actual drafting. I know this is a bad angle and lighting for that matter, and it's kind of hard to see the pencil, unfortunately. I'm trying to save up for a camera, but I need to figure out how to make these lines a little darker so you can see them in the future without messing things up. But again, that's neither here nor there. I am currently drawing out all of the lines that I need for my pattern. I have my hip, my waist, my underbust, and my bust. Now the pattern on the tutorial only calls for the bust, not the underbust. But again, since I'm making an underbust corset, I went ahead and added the underbust in there. Now I'm taking all of the measurements that I have in my book. This is one of the reasons I did it in my book first, so I wouldn't have to do the math as I went along. And I'm just drawing out my pattern pieces. Now in a moment you'll probably see that in actuality the measurements that I had in my book did not quite work out. Some of the bust area was way too big. The Victorians had a specific kind of shape that they were always going for, and they would pad out any area that was too small for that shape. And unsurprisingly, my bust is too big for whatever shape they were trying to go for. My bust is always too big for those kinds of things. So I wound up having to change the measurements a little bit and kind of futz with it so it won't have any issues with the bust and it won't be like really weirdly skewed on the bust area.
Oh look, we have some visitors. They like to get in the way whenever I'm working on my projects. Oh, there's another one. There's Luthion's little paws and Estelle's fluffy tail.
Okay, it's January 4th, and I didn't get anything done yesterday, which is annoying because I really wanted to have at least the first mock-up done yesterday so I could try it on today and do some edits and hopefully do a second mock-up today. But it is what it is. I am going to try to do the first mock-up today instead. I probably will only have enough time to actually cut out the fabric and then have to sew it tomorrow, but we're gonna try. We're gonna see what we can get done.
And now to cut out the pattern pieces. So I went ahead and pinned down the pieces. This is the center front. It's the only one that I did on the fold. And then I just traced them out and added, I like to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance because I am too worried about it. I don't know if Luthien will let me do a 1/2 inch seam allowance, but we'll see. Maybe she will. But I like to do an extra seam allowance just in case, especially on a mock-up, because then I can kind of alter the pattern pieces if need be. If they're a little too small, I can let them out by a little bit without having to cut out an entirely new piece. Sew it all together and Bob's your uncle, you've got a mock-up. Of course, it takes a little bit longer than that, but you know how it goes. Oh, actually, I totally forgot that I needed to add in boning channels, so I just sewed open the seams, because again, this is just a mock-up, so those will be good enough for boning channels.
Whoop, whoop. Oh gosh, Kitty's underfoot. Okay, so I'm actually quite happy with this. There's a couple of places that don't quite look right just because I was just guesstimating where the lines went. So I'm gonna have to straighten up the lines of the top of the corset. I mean, like you can see, this is very pointed and it really shouldn't be very pointed. But surprisingly, it fits very well. There is a bit of, I would like it to be a little tighter on the waist, but the way that I made this mock-up, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. The way that I made this mock-up, it's kind of hard for it to get real straight here. So there's an opening back here. So my waist can get a little bit smaller. So, and then you can see that it's also rolling at the top. That's because instead of putting a binding on like you should, I just kind of turned over the top. Surprisingly, I was very much expecting for me to have to tighten the underbust because my underbust is actually the same size as my waist because they're so close to each other. But the way that this corset, or at least the way that it looks in the pattern, works is that this actually goes a little upward into the bust. And then the other thing I was concerned about with that is that it would kind of push the girls apart, and I didn't really want that. But the way that this is looking, I actually have it loose enough that it's real comfortable, but it's not really giving girls much lift. So I'm going to be wearing a bra anyway because I need to wear something up here. So it's the only real lift that I'm going to have is from the bra and not from the corset, which I'm okay with because that's actually probably going to look better. So I know there's some things that I can possibly, that I will possibly need to fix in like future projects, but I think that I'm happy enough with it that I will go ahead and actually make the corset out of the pattern pieces that I have, other than having to fix the top lines, because even the bottom lines look good. They are a little loose around the hip now that I'm looking at it, but honestly, it's a skirt. The main thing I'm concerned about is the waist. So if it's a little loose around the hips, that's okay because it's gonna be looser when we get to the skirt piece. When I add on the skirt piece, it's supposed to be loose. So yeah, he's mad because he put himself in the bathroom with me and now everyone else is outside. So I went ahead and outlined my pattern in the red just so we could better see exactly what we're looking at. And then I also added some boning channels. Of course, this is just guesstimating whereabouts they're gonna be, but that at least gives me some concept of what I should be looking for.
Hello, my chief editor, in the background right there. Anyway, I was too lazy to make a whole lining piece, so this is actually just my mock-up that I'm adding in boning channels by sewing down some bias tape, and then I'm using whatever's left over of the bias tape to actually edge the bottom. And now that those are all done, these are my beautiful inspiration pictures that I need to add to my book later. But first of all, we need to take out our Patterns of Fashion book so we can find my skirt. This is the skirt that I have planned on doing for this particular pattern. I'm again going to draw it out just to make my life a little easier so I have a plan on where exactly everything should go. This particular skirt is in two pieces. There's pretty much a front panel and then there's a back panel that is diagonal at the back. Victorians didn't really do circle skirts or anything like that because it would have been a waste of fabric. They really just did, most of the time, they really just did rectangles. So I've got my pieces drawn out, and then here what I'm doing is I'm actually drawing in my corset panels. So I really hate waist seams. I don't like them. I try to avoid them if ever I can. So what I'm doing is I'm actually going to attach most of the corset panels to the skirt pattern. And then I'll just kind of bring them down into this pattern piece and just put darts on the skirt where the corset is supposed to be taken in. Now the back of this skirt is supposed to be gathered into, I believe, a 1-inch little panel. So I can't attach the back panel of the corset because I need something to gather the skirt back into. So everything except for the back panel is attached to the skirt, and then the back panel will be attached later. And here I'm just outlining everything because I realize that you probably can't see a pencil from where you are. And then I really want to put a pocket in. Oops, seems my chief editor thinks I need to move on. So we're going to go over to my actual fabric. You should always draw this stuff on your wrong side. And this, technically, for this fabric, again, is the right side. But I did not want to use the shiny side on my fabric, so it's the wrong side for me. Also, you'll notice that I entirely skipped the mock-up step. That's because skirts are pretty easy, and I'm overconfident. So I'll probably regret this later, but you know how it is. So I have my 2 pattern pieces that are supposed to attach to the front panel on my fabric now, and I'm drawing them out, and then I'm going to measure how long I want my overskirt to be, and just mark that, and then square it across and add the back part of the skirt. This I'm entirely doing by eye. There's nothing here saying, oh, this should be your measurement here, this should be your measurement there. Nope, it's entirely by eye. I don't know what I'm doing, so that makes me way too overconfident that, hey, I can figure this out. Now, because this has the darts in it for the corset panels, I need to mark it on both sides, and there's no way that I'm going to put those pieces back in the same place both times, so I'm just going to use my, I actually don't know what kind of paper this is, but it's like specifically made for that purpose, so, oh, gotta move the kitties out of the way. They don't want to go. Once again, we're going to sew all our pieces together, though in this case it also includes sewing some darts, just because those are our pieces. And then I'm going to do a running stitch, a pretty long running stitch down the back piece that's going to be gathered down, gather it down, and then attach it to my back panel. Doing my best to make sure that the gathers are evenly spaced out on the back panel, and sewing it together and hoping that my sewing machine actually gets through the gathers. Sometimes it doesn't like to. And finally, we're going to attach the lining to the piece, flip the lining over, and since I need to put another boning channel in here, I'm going to use my presser foot to decide how far away from the edge I need to go. I'm just lining that presser foot along the edge. You'll see here that I'm actually using a brown color. That's because in the picture there seem to be some brown decorative details, so I decided to go ahead and use the brown on my decorative details as well, so that's why I've got brown in here. And now we're going to go ahead and sew along the top. I've already put the bones in, so we're all good on that front.
Alright, so it's January 16th. I've gotten a lot done, but I'm not as far along as I would like to be. I have the skirt all put together. We've got our skirt piece together. The corset is attached. And I'm currently working on the grommets, which I'm hoping to get done today. And I also think I might try to bind this top edge just with some bias tape. I'm hoping to do that today so I can try this on and see how I want to hem it and making sure that I actually like it, because the front, this is how I designed it, but I'm not sure if I like it yet. The front has no seams, it's just straight down to the skirt, but the back, in order to get this gathered look here, I had to put a seam in. So I haven't actually seen it on yet, but we'll see. So that's what I want to get done today. Other things that need to get done, I'm waiting on the ribbon, which is supposed to arrive 2 days from now, so I can gather that up and attach it to the top and bottom of the skirt. I need to attach the buttons, and I'm considering putting a big bow on the back of the skirt, just to maybe hide a little bit of those gathers so they aren't as obvious, because the ribbon that I have for the lacing is actually pretty thin, because the grommets, since I'm just hand sewing them, are actually much smaller than I was thinking they were gonna be. So I'm not gonna have a big enough ribbon to have a big bow, which is what I really want. So I'm considering making a bow just to attach to the back, just that it'll always be there, and then have the lacing kind of tuck into the skirt rather than having it be the bow, which is originally what the plan was. I think tomorrow, if I finish the bias and the grommets and stuff like that, I'm going to try to start working on the collar, which I'm calling a bib collar, but I don't know that it actually has a name because I have not been able to find it. If you know the name of it, I would love to hear what you have to say about that. You can put it in the comments, and that way I can actually find out how to do this collar correctly, because I currently don't have any idea. I'm gonna make it up as I go along tomorrow.
For the grommets, I poked a hole with my little seam ripper, used my awl to widen it as much as possible, and then used what I think is supposed to be the correct stitch to stitch open the grommets. I just thought it would look better than the metal grommets. I very much regretted it afterwards, though.
Alright, so it's January 17th, and I'm finally getting the chance to try on the dress with the skirt. And it is exactly as I wanted it to be. I mean, I'm still having issues with the wrinkles and stuff like that, and I didn't bother buttoning up my sleeves. But the silhouette is what I was looking for, so really excited about that. So the next thing I need to work on, I'm waiting for the ribbon to come in, so I am going to work possibly on the bib part. And there's a couple of things on the skirt that needs to be fixed. I've already mentioned them before, but I'm really excited with the look of everything. I don't know if you can see, the skirt length is pretty good. It'll be a little shorter because I think I did an inch hem, so I just have to straighten out so that everything is even. And then here, let me see if I can't show you the back. So I don't have it fully closed in the back because it's a pain in the butt to do. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to get somebody to help me if I actually want to get it fully closed, because whew, that was hard. I still think it would look better if there was some sort of volume or something to push this out a little bit. maybe I'll make, instead of making the full hoop skirt like I wanted to, because I don't think I'm gonna have enough time for it, maybe I will make like just oh, I don't know what those are called, but the little pillow that they put on their bum to make them bigger. I might make one of those just to give it that little bit of extra oomph in the back for that, so that it will have the nice volume for those gathers. Now, another couple things that I have noticed and wanted to point out. The front part, I did not finish the dart, mainly because I was sewing from down here up and I didn't know exactly where the dart was gonna fall. So you can see this weird puckering in the front. I think if I go ahead and finish that dart, it'll look much better. And then the other thing is my options for a pocket is here, which would put it right in my stomach area, and that would not look good at all. Or I could extend this dart, because this is what I was talking about earlier. I was planning on putting the pocket here, but I was afraid that it was gonna make it so it attached to where the corset would be, which would make it practically useless. Or I could put it, this skirt actually calls for the pocket to be in the center back seam, so I could put the pocket there. I haven't quite decided. I think my best bet, if I can, is to extend the dart and just put my pocket in here, because this is where your jeans pocket naturally falls anyway. So that's my plan. I'm gonna think about it a little bit more, think of my options. I really misjudged the amount of footage I would have for a month's project. I have way too much. I was editing my video just recently and I had already got to 45 minutes and I think this is a great stopping point. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop here, and then hopefully next week, if I can edit it and get it out in time, I will have the second half of this video out. I did finish it, so it's not like it's gonna be, I say that it's gonna come out and then it doesn't, because I finished the project, but unfortunately this video is way too long, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop here. If you are interested in seeing the finished product with all the details and stuff, I will post that soon. You can subscribe to get a notification of that coming out. If you liked the video, please go ahead and like. And if you have any suggestions on how I could improve in the future, whether it be on YouTube videos or on sewing, I would greatly appreciate any comments in the comment section below. But I think that's it for now, so I'll go ahead and end it here and see you next time.